I'm David Shields. I'm the Carolina Distinguished Professor at the University of South Carolina. I'm also the chair of the Carolina Gold Rice Foundation. One of the missions of the foundation has been to restore the grains, the landrace and heirloom grains that were characteristic of the Low Country and also the South as a larger region. Beginning with Carolina Gold Rice and then the associated grains that were part of the culinary system. And to that end, we have researched and begun the restoration of other types of grain that were grown widely in the South, purple straw wheat being a significant one, black oats being another, the various types of barleys from the Appalachian blue. The most significant recent work has been, next to purple straw, has been work with rye. In 1917, the USDA published a pamphlet about rye growing in the Southeast. This was after the introduction of Abruzzi rye, a particularly good-tasting, productive rye found in the mountains east and north of Rome in 1900 by a USDA plant survey team. It was brought to the United States and distributed in 1906, 1907. It immediately created a sensation because of its productivity and the ease of its processing. It supplanted all of the rye that was grown, the various varieties, the northern white rye that was sold out of Cincinnati, the Rosen rye that came out of Russia. And finally, there were only two other rye varieties that maintained any hold on the fields of the South in the early 20th century, and both were quite distinct from Abruzzi and had different virtues from it. Here along the coast of South Carolina and going all the way down to Florida was a type of rye called Seashore. It was a very interesting rye because it grew tall, over 6 feet. It was used as windbreaks, as winter grazing, and also as a milling rye. It was first noted in the literature of the South in 1831, one under the name of Carolina rye. It's advertised in the News and Courier and the City Gazette, the newspapers of Carolina. It was greatly important in the early 20th century because of its heat resistance and tolerance, which was better than Abruzzi. And in certain of the cotton lands of the South, after the boll weevil arrived, they decided that having a winter cover crop was absolutely essential, since they had to get the cotton out of the fields by October 1, and you couldn't leave the fields fallow because of erosion and other problems afterwards. So they planted this Seashore rye, or it was also called South Georgia or black-seeded Florida. It remained an important rye up until World War II and is still grown under the name Florida Black in Florida because of its extraordinary seed quality under the most difficult climate conditions. The second rye variety that I want to talk about, and which we're going to engage in a rehabilitation of, is called mountain rye, North Carolina mountain rye, North Georgia rye, or Carolina black rye. This, as the last name suggests, is a black rye, also taller than Abruzzi, about the size of a human being, that was grown in the upcountry of the South. It was a very cold-tolerant rye, and so was important in terms of winter grazing for animals in the Appalachian period. It was discovered that oats did not hold up to cold weather as well as this rye variety, and the rye had greater potentials in terms of nutrition. So this mountain rye, the black seed rye, became the standard winter forage crop in the Appalachian region throughout the last part of the 19th and early 20th century. It first appears in 1841, and it was grown to World War II as well. Both of these ryes we're bringing back.